This is Dale Earnhardt. This is all the stats that I can get right now, and I'll get it further. But this is his entire career. And the very, very interesting thing about this, as you can see, the highest iRating that he got to was right at the end. If we go all the way down to the bottom, you'll see that in the duel, he gained 28 iRating to get to the 5,303. And with the finish that he was credited with in the 500, he lost 0.25 iRating to stay essentially at that 5,303. It's just really crazy because a lot of people in his same era were at that time trending downward, and he was still climbing as the iRating inflation took hold with the truck series coming in and creating a larger pool of iRating for people to get. Earnhardt's max is that 5,303. The minimum, he did drop below the 1350 early in his career. It took 17 races for him to get to 2K, 49 to get to 3K, 292 to get to 4K, and then 838 to make that final step to the 5K mark. It's the average wind strength of field, 2,270. This is lower than most modern era ones because he went through the 70s and 80s where there was less of an iRating pool to pump up the strength of fields. But the average gap to the rest of the field is much smaller compared to what Petty or Gordon or Johnson had. So it makes it kind of, in my mind, more clear that he had a harder field to deal with because he wasn't as high and above the rest on his wins. The longest streak that he went through was 15 races in a row where he gained. But you can see right here, starting off his career, 13 races in a row to skyrocket from a 1346 to a 2091. Let's just find that streak. 15 here. This is in 85, where he goes 15 races in a row, gaining iRating. His worst finish was a 14th there, and that only gave him 7. But a lot of wins, a lot of top 10s, and then at Martinsville, he ended up breaking that streak with the 21st place finish. But the higher you go in the iRating, the harder it is to gain iRating. So I'm still working on getting this little area cleaned up for the best tracks because the way that the data is pulled, the track name when it changes, we have Lowe's, we have Charlotte, we have every Infineon, Sears Point, and whatever else they've been called. But for the main tracks, you can see that, well, as you would expect, Daytona is the number 1, North Wilkesboro. We got Talladega, and then I believe it might have still been, Alabama International Motor Speedway, so you can combine those two, but it's kind of strange that he didn't gain as much iRating at Talladega as he did at Daytona. The really interesting thing, I think, is that in Cup, he gained 6,921 iRating, and then he lost 3,244 in Xfinity or Busch or whatever you want to call it. And it's just really interesting that he's kind of like the opposite farmer, where he's losing more in the lower series than the higher series. It's a very rare thing that I've seen so far, but I haven't looked at a lot of people. It's just, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, did not expect to see that. I'm going to take a look at a few drivers this way, just because this is a lot quicker than trying to create graphics, kind of lets you see everything. and it might generate some ideas for different stats that you guys want to see for people. Hopefully this works good as a video because it's a lot quicker and easier. I've just asked Discord to say what drivers you want to see, and so we're going to take a look at that just because it's a fun, interesting thing to see how someone's career looks in a system that we all know. Alright, so this is Stewart Friesen, and you see a bit of a drop right at the start of his career, then a quick shot up to 3K, and then hovers around that, has a big jump for a while in 22 and 23, and then it's kind of been downhill through the end of 23 into 24. Let's take a look at his numbers. The max 3,429, the minimum almost under 1,000, and average at a 26.22. This is over 181 races. 112 of those, though, he's gained iRating. 3 races as number 1, and that would be, I assume, in the truck series. Average strength of field win, 2,044. Average gap strength of field, 1,044. But he's racing people more around his level. The max gain and loss strength of field, pretty much dead even. So if he gains in a race, that strength of field average is that. If he loses in a race, his strength of field average is that. The biggest gain usually comes early in the career. 119 points for the 2017 Eldora Dirt Derby. And then the max loss, 2019 Gander RV 150. 35 races to get to 2K, 63 races to get to 3K. Obviously, never made it to 4K. Best tracks, we got Eldora, Las Vegas, and Gateway. Here, worst track, Daytona. I think we can all feel that. Daytona is normally where we lose iRating and safety rating. It's gained 1292 in trucks, 151 in Cars Pro late model, Cup only 5, and NASCAR Canadian Series lost 67 probably in just a one-off race. Longest streak is a 7 and longest lost streak is a 5. So looks like just kind of went streaky for a while, getting to the 5s and the 6s. Then he got to a higher iRating right around that 3,000. Did his 7 race streak there, and I'm sure it's probably coming up multiple times. But currently, well, at least up until when this data was pulled for July, early July, currently at a 2,732. All right, here is Frank Kimmell's career. As you can see, a long one here, mostly in ARCA, I believe. Gradually goes up, almost gets to 4,000, levels off there through the early 2000s and into the teens, and then just starts to drop off and ends his career. So his max was a 3,894, minimum 1,292, average iRating of 3,112, 531 races within all this data, 348 races that he gained iRating, 183 that he lost. He was the number 1 car in ARCA, probably, 365 times. He did have 7 Cup starts. Average win strength of field, and this is where ARCA really starts to show, 1,401. So just above that starting iRating. His average gap to that strength of field is a 1956. 81 wins. Longest gain streak is 21 races in a row, and that is one of the higher ones that I've ever seen. So his average gain, there's a little bit more gap here, 1443, and then his average loss strength of field is a 1559, so he loses iRating in harder strength of fields. His max gain only an 89, and that was early in his career. Max loss 2002 Kansas Speedway. It was probably the #1 car and had a bunch of rookies in that. Lost 145, almost 146 iRating. 31 races to get to 2K, 142 to get to 3K. Looking at his best tracks, as long as there's no major name issues here, Flat Rock Speedway, Toledo, and Winchester, along with Berlin. Worst track, Pocono. So he's gained 3,237 iRating in ARCA, lost 571 in Truck, lost 462 in Cup. Also ran a NASCAR All-Star race, it looks like. And then a couple of Xfinity Busch Series, and then West and qualifiers. You had to go look at this. He did a couple of races with the Noble and the Winston Open for the All-Star races, and that is where he lost all of that, 119 and 63. So he was the #1 car because his ARCA farming, and got beat badly by some lower ones. So that's how he's lost so much there. And then there might be another one down here in 2002. Same thing happens. #2 car finishes 24th. That's how he's lost so much within that special event. So streaks, let's just kind of click through here and see how his career went streak-wise. There's a 21 gain where he goes from August 2002 to July 2003 without losing any iRating. You see a win, tons of wins, worst finish, 2 top 5s. And that's just a really, really difficult streak to do, especially within the real world. 31st finish, though, after that, loses him 116 iRating. That's where his streak ends. He's got a couple more streaks, though, after that, 10 and then 15 right after that. And then, as you can see, end of the career, just starting to bounce back and forth. Does still go out as the #1 driver in ARCA. And at this level, when someone with 3,000 or 4,000 iRating just stops racing, they take all that with them out of the pool. And it's kind of interesting because looking at the ARCA strength of field, so looking now at ARCA and where it's gone, you have all of these people that stay in ARCA and all the young guys coming in, beating them and moving up, and you have this repeating over and over and over. And ARCA is just the worst strength of field in all of the data. So we've got the top 8 worst strength of fields, all ARCA. And then 1 West Series, which was actually K&N back then, but still ARCA West. So it is crazy that this, 2023 was one of the worst ARCA fields in the history of ARCA. Just the weakest field that you could get. Then behind that is the Mexico Series that has the next few worst strength of fields. But that just goes to show how much that iRating gets transferred up into the higher series and why you have that inflation through it. But looking at the strength of fields for ARCA while Kimmell was at the end of his career, it was right there around the average, as you would expect for an introductory level series like ARCA. Alright, the final request that has come in so far on Discord is Dion, who ran the Busch North series. And this is his graph. And it's actually a name I've never heard before. Started out in the late 70s, went all the way to 2007 in this data. Let's go take a look at his numbers. So actually got a few cup races under his belt to start off, which that did not go well as he dropped all the way down to an 1156. But if we look at this, his max iRating is up to a 3310, minimum down to that 1055, an average of a 2366. 319 races within this, and 192 he gained, 127 he lost. 22 races as the #1 driver, and I'm guessing that's mostly in the North Series. 12 cup starts. Average win strength of field, 1698. The gap to the strength of field when he does win from his iRating, only 655. 22 total wins. Gain streak, the longest is 8, and we can see one of them here. I'm guessing there's a few of them that happen. And then 5 for the losing streak. So, strength of field, gain and loss about even. His max gain was early in his career. His max loss was 1998 Shop and Save 300. And 67 races to get to 2K, 178 to get to 3K. Best track for him, Oxford Plains, 766. And worst track for him, New Hampshire International Speedway. So there might be actually another name of New Hampshire on here that might change those numbers. Not looking like it. So, Cup Series lost 237 iRating. North Tour gained 1,042 or 1,142. Busch Series he lost 230, and ARCA East gained 575. So let's go take a look at this career and see where the streaks happen. And it's just kind of a even series of races where he gains some, he loses some, and we kind of saw that with his graph where it didn't climb all the way up, didn't do anything too crazy. Let's find that biggest loss. What was it? 141. There it is. Thompson in the North Series, which is actually getting classified as East Series. Yeah. He was the #3 car and finished 42nd, and that was the big hit. All right, and our final driver for this video. This one, when I first seen it, when I pulled the data, or when I got the data in Excel, I thought something was broken. I was like, what is happening? This is the lowest iRating ever achieved. 24. This career never has went above 1350. This is Wayne Peterson. So as you can see here, instantly, we've got all red. I mean, this is a 25. Is this the 25 here? Yeah, 25 races losing iRating. Going from a 698 all the way down to an 80.76. This was with, I'm sure, just start and park throughout. Lowest iRating though, 24. Average iRating, 259, and that's over 132 races. 33 races he gained iRating. 99 he lost. We don't have any wins. The longest gain streak is 10 races. The longest loss is 25. The max iRating he's ever gained in one single race was 53, and that was 2011. Then a max loss of 74 in 2003, which was early in his career. This career is just completely flipped upside down. But let's take a look over here, because this is interesting. That his best track, he's gained 140 iRating, and that is Salem. His worst is Pocono. Lost 1,269 iRating in ARCA and 44 in Daytona qualifiers. We'll go down through this. 10 iRating here. iRating gain streak here. 2015 into 2016. He was the 31 car and finished 27th. And that started his gain, as he gained 19 iRating from a 67 to an 86. Then he finished 21st as the 27 car and gained iRating. Then just barely gained iRating with a 29th place finish, because his iRating is so low. Then another single digit. And then we get a couple of 28s, 26, 27, 25 in 30 car fields, which allows him to gain some more. But then he got too high, up to a 235 and a 27th place finish. Couldn't cut it. And he goes back to his losing streak, which takes him all the way to his end of the career, where he reaches that 24-18. That happens at Winchester in 2020, as he's the number 14 car and finishes 14th. So there must have only been a 14 car field there that year. And yeah, from there he just finishes out the career at a 36 iRating. And to me, that's the most impressive career that I've seen. 50th place finish as the number 50 car in the 2008 ARCA race at Rockingham. But it's not often you get that large of fields, and he accomplished what he wanted to there with being the lowest ranked driver at a 364, finishes dead last where he's supposed to, only loses 34 iRating. Wayne Peterson, the lowest iRating ever reached. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what kind of stats you want to see, what drivers you want to see, and if you like this format of the video. It's a lot easier for me to just ramble on, go through the stats, rather than trying to create a story and then create graphics for it. But we'll see how this does in storytelling and if it's interesting enough for people. So, thanks for watching.